we should be getting back to the good book.
Hi, everyone. My name is Severin Garrett, and tonight is our team call, Team for Life. And it is Monday, July 24th, and we have the awesome opportunity to hear from Brenda and Lynn about their experience at Blueridge Bootcamp this weekend. I think we all know the importance of Big Rock events, so I'm just really proud of them for making time to go and to invest not only in their, fun and fellowship, but also in their learning. So I'll turn it over to you guys, and we can't wait to learn from you.
Okay. Brenda had a thought about church.
Yeah, this was one of the things that just kind of hit me in the middle of the conference. I've told people before that you can do everything at home in relationship to church. You can pray, you can worship, you can sing, you can read your Bible, you can take communion. You can do all those things at home by yourself and still communicate with the Lord. The one thing that you can't do is to fellowship with one another. And the verse in the Bible has been one that Bill said sometimes that was what kept him in organized religion, was that one verse, don't forsake gathering together. And so Lynn and I were talking and thinking we could share a bunch of bullet points and talk about what people said and do things like that. But it's hard to capture the relationships and the energy and being together, just being able to hug in person. This is great. We do this because we're in all different places, but there's nothing like just, skin to skin contact and seeing people's smiles and stuff. So that was my first thought. So Miss Lynn?
Yeah, one of the speakers said that during COVID, we learned to live in isolation, and we've been sort of coming out of that, and this weekend really felt like the beginning of coming back to normal for me. And the boot camp just really was it was just really fun. It was really good, and we were a small crowd, and there were a lot of people I did not know, but it just had the beginnings to feel back to we're part of something larger, and this is a community. Brenda and I both discussed that the boot camp had a bit more of a business focus versus a product focus. The boot camp in Peachtree City had Lisa Pebble, who talked about some of the products and some things like that. And this one, we drilled down on some of the different numbers and what things meant. And, or I don't even know if you can put it that way, but I don't know if that was intentional or not, but both of us kind of thought about that. And I sent a copy, or I stuck in the Voxer chat some of the bullet points that actually Stacy Turner had done for Dr. Phillips' talk. He just took different questions and kind of answered them. It was a little bit hard to kind of pull all that out, but did you have any bullet points you wanted to say on that one, Brenda?
I just had a couple of the things that he asked questions about, like, can you take Juice Plus if you have chemo or if you have diabetes or things like that. One of the things that he pointed out was about the research, because one of my questions with Severin is, how come Juice Plus is paying for the research? That makes it invalid. That makes it tainted somehow. And he really made it clear that companies have to pay for the product, because the researchers are not going to go out and buy $1 million worth of product to test just to come up with whatever their results are. So, and he was talking about how difficult it was to get published, and the things that it's not just getting published that's as important as being cited. So when the Juice Plus studies are cited in all these different other publications or people, that's really what ramps up the validity of it. And she said Dr. DuBois had said before, he talked about that, but I never heard him say that. So it was really impactful for me to hear that part.
And it's called an impact factor.
Impact.
So.
Oh, Well, that's
Very
great.
good. Very good, Brenda.
I just set that up for you. That was a softball.
You did. Sean Hopkins was there too. He's with corporate and he's been around for a long time. But some of the points he made are, and he, Juice Plus has been on the market for 30 years and it has a food label, and we don't take it, we eat it, and sort of changing that shift in that vernacular that it is food. They have to work at the fact of keeping it to be a food label. It is food, but it's hard for people to understand that food can be, like that. And other countries don't necessarily have it as a food label because they just don't have a grid to put it through like that. 1996 was the first publication of our research. So we have 40 plus, somebody might even say 47 studies, right. 46, and Sean's this Canadian, and he'd talk about something like that and he'd say, who does that? And so he just made several points and it was like, who does that? And he considers this, and that the research proves our safety and our nutritional impact. And he talked about the impact of the income too. The Juice Plus pays out in dollars between 40% and 60%. He said that typical direct selling is 34% payout, and that Juice Plus wants people when they first get going to have a good experience and such. And so I think with the bonuses and everything, they actually, Juice Plus doesn't really make income on those first few levels. They are paying out in bonuses and such like that. So that 60% actually goes back to the partner initially. You can, it's between 45 and 60, but sort of that early win is what they're wanting. 34% is what the typical direct selling is done. And when a person gets to the senior sales coordinator, 90% of them stay with the company. So that's an interesting mark too. Did you have anything else on Sean, Brenda?
No, I think you covered, the high points that I had for him. He's just very encouraging about what's been done and the benefits and things. And again, he kept saying, who does that? Who does that with Healthy Starts? Who does that with paying corporate benefits? And I can't remember, it was Sean, I think, that said that Juice Plus has paid the Beaver family. So that's Kurt Beavers, who does the Make a Life and sponsors the boot camps and things like that. Over $1 million in 30 years? Because I think he's been in 30 years.
Yeah.
In benefits.
Yeah.
So to him and his family.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was premiums or what, but he could kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, I figured, with as many people as he's got under him, it must be just benefits. So,
yeah.
But anyway, the one thing too, he said that we are kind of mission driven to help. That is our mission, is to help, to inspire, to help. And seems like we all have servant hearts and want to help people, and whether it's with growing fresh food and or doing the Juice Plus product, that's just our DNA. That's who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the next person who spoke was Rhonda Hubbard, and I think we were both so taken with her that we're just going to take her presentation next week and talk about it, because she really kind of laid out how you can lay out a month and work it. And next week will be the end of July. So kind of looking at how do you work a month? And so we'll talk about her. Jackie Klein, she actually went to the hub and went through the business presentation that's on the hub. You can just pull it off and it has slides. And then she wove her story into that. So that was interesting to watch somebody do that. Some things she said were diversify your income, not just your investments, which I thought was really a good way to explain, why would somebody want this as a side gig where you diversify your income? You have your other job and then you have this. and plant seeds of possibility. And that, that also has to do with things, benefits that the company has, like insurance, like residual income, and that we reap what we sow, but we harvest at a different time. So you don't generally ask somebody about something, tell them about Juice Plus, and then boom, they're ready. Anything else you wanted to add to Jackie Klein, Brenda?
Let's see. No, I think that was it. I had picked a couple of others to highlight. So
yeah. And then Travis, they brought Travis, the new CEO, was actually in Seattle at Leavenworth or some name like that, in another boot camp. So he actually came on Zoom, and he talked about, this was fascinating to me, but group culture is what he called it, has a net increase in income of 765% over 10 years. So if you think group culture, that's community, Juice Plus community, working in a group, that over a 10-year period would be, between 765% higher. And you can think about that even in relation to what's the group culture you create with your customers, what's the group culture with your team, with Juice Plus as a whole, that kind of thing. And then we're all better together. Who are you together with? And he talked about that we are the product of the 5 people we hang out with the most. And then I love this. He said, we're all disasters before we're masters. And you think about anybody that starts this business, they're like, why do I have so many questions? We're all disasters. And he talked about the NFL. He said that means no friends left. He's like, don't be that way. That you just kind of bull in China shop, don't be that way, which I thought was funny. And he suggests thinking about our business, our life in 90-day increments. I think we've been kind of geared to think in terms of conference to conference, but this would be sort of quarterly. What do we want to do in the next 90 days? What would you like to accomplish? And he's one of them that sort of started this 90-day challenge, just talking to one new person every day for 90 days. And, so you're meeting new people, you're reconnecting with people. And then he had some interesting, Brenda, you can talk to this, his views on Gen X.
Yeah. Well, I think you're closer to Gen X than I am, so I don't have my notes on him right this minute.
Okay.
So
well, he was
because you were
talking.
going to talk about him.
Yeah, because Brenda talked about, because she has a granddaughter or granddaughter-in-law or whatever she is, but he was very big on Gen X, and he had him stand up, and he said, you guys are creative.
Yeah.
And we need to have more of you. And, it's kind of like, who's going to Charlotte? We're going to have a meeting in Charlotte. It was fun to see him sort of say, we need you guys, you think different than we do.
It was. And especially, I know with my computer consulting, our community had, the average age in our community was about 60, and you can't survive like that. You've got to have new blood in. And so for him to make the overture and make them feel special, I thought that was really great.
Yeah, that was.
I would have loved for Claire to have been there this year too, but she got loved on pretty good last year, just not by the CEO.
Right. Yeah. And then Jennifer Saval, you may have, she's done presentations before. She's always very good, but she basically said, you've been taught the skill, or often we are taught the skill, but do you have the will? And she talked about how emotions can get in the way of discipline. And she talked a lot about choices, and she said, choose to be disciplined, and that creates choice. Choose discipline first, and discipline creates freedom, whether that's financial freedom or time freedom or whatever it is. And then you kind of, to get in the right frame of mind, you're like, what is the paycheck a month that would excite me? And then you can begin to choose the discipline of the activity that might increase your paycheck to hit that. What if I could choose to be more disciplined in my head to lead to other things I dream of? That sense of doing what it takes now to get you where you want to be, then, later. Can I do this more intentionally without sacrificing my life? And I think that's a piece that we can think about, because people don't necessarily understand that our business, you still have to work, you still have to do things. People don't just give us money anywhere. I mean, maybe there's a person that spent a little money and won the entire lottery, but generally, even the people who win the lottery have spent a lot of money and time and effort trying to do that. How can you be more intentional without sacrificing my life? I think the power hour speaks to that. I think the DMO speaks to that, saying, oh, here's my DMO, even if it's, I'll call one person a day or whatever it is you choose. It says, choose to use the DMO. And I said the power hour to discipline your thoughts and your actions. We'll get later into somebody talking about actions, but who do I love and care about? Where are they living their life? And go join them there, and then have the conversations. Our thoughts are real, but it doesn't mean they are true. And that's why we need community to speak truth into. It says you are responsible for what you do, don't do, or how you respond to what's done to you. We're in the service business. Results happen over time, not overnight. Work hard, stay consistent, and be patient. Do you have anything to add to her, Brenda?
Well, just piggybacking on top of her, Deanna Christopherson was one of the speakers, and she talked about one of the things she said was the need for fruits and vegetables never goes away. It will never go away. So we do not have a limited market. We don't have a time frame where our business is going to expire. It's going to always have potential. But talking about the DMO, she said, if you spend 5 hours a week for 12 months, that's 260 hours on your business. And she compared that to what a doctor or a lawyer might do. That's like 18,000 hours of practice for them before they really kind of start making good money. Athletes, 10,000 hours of practice and stuff. So we can accomplish great things with less time, but we do have to be consistent. And that was hammered over and over by a bunch of different speakers. And I can testify that when I'm consistent, I can see results. And when I'm just inconsistent, I can't. And consistency always beats the surge. So you can have a just surge in activity and do 15 calls in a day. That's not nearly as effective as having 3 calls a day for 5 days, because you're getting in a pattern, in a rhythm. And I think that's what's helpful. So I'm like Lynn, I think the power hours are going to be game changers. And it's nothing. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, we were at the conference and we had lots of people around us and things, and we're doing a power hour, but we're in a group, even though it's different, nobody's talking, but it's still kind of the thing of accountability and how are you doing and checking up on people. So one of the people that I had that really affected me was Kurt Beavers. That he did the closing thing, and he was the one talking about isolation and stuff. And the first conference, I think it was the first real conference, or maybe it was just a Zoom call, and that maybe it was in Anaheim, and we all didn't go. We stayed here in Atlanta, but he had COVID and he couldn't go. So for the first face-to-face thing, he couldn't be there. So it was even more powerful after knowing what he had said then. He was missing being together. But he shared his story, and I had never heard it before. But one of the points he made was that the person who mentored, who sponsored you, may not necessarily be your mentor. That the person that sponsored him had no clue. She just was, I just did this and it just kind of magically happened. But he had other questions and different things and needed more direction. But it said that there are 5 people above your upline that are getting paid on what you sell. So you've got lots of resources and all different kinds of things. But I thought that was kind of an interesting concept because he had somebody that was completely out of his, not his upline and things to say, looks like you need some help. What can we do? And he also did a story that piggybacked on what the Sunday speaker said. All I can remember his guest. Was it Bob? Scott Guest, sorry. And talking about the parable of the talents. And so we all probably are familiar with the story. They had 1, 2, and 5 talents or whatever, and the guy with 5 doubled it, and the guy with 2 doubled it, and the guy with 1 hid it and didn't do anything with it. And so he compared that to your relationships. And I thought that was an interesting correlation. He said, you've got relationships and you're interacting with people, and maybe it's not that person, but they know somebody that knows somebody that would help, that would love to be on your team, that needs a product and stuff. And he said that if we take our talents thinking about our relationships and we put them in a safe place, then we're doing a disservice, and we're not really, he made it clear that we're just really not doing what God's called us to do. So that was pretty impactful for me. And I think one of the other things with the whole entire conference boot camp was Lynn and I just felt like we were kind of piecing some of the puzzle together. So with it being focused on business more so than just the product, I know it's a good product. I believe in the product. I'm always wanting to learn more, but I felt like I was severely lacking in some of the business principles and history and kind of the background stuff. So that helped me a lot. And Lynn and I just came back on fire and ready to go.
April Conklin also spoke, but she's going to speak to us in a couple of weeks. And so we'll just wait on that for her. She was really sweet, and she's a friend of Severin's. And then Bob Christofferson, Brenda said a few of the things, but he said over 30% of businesses are home-based in 2023 compared to 12%. But still, there's still room, and lots of room for things to grow and to utilize it. It's a normal sort of business nowadays. We're the architects of our own destiny, and thinking in terms of what you want, and going after it. I hadn't drilled down. This is about as far as I got in really drilling down. I don't know if you want to talk about anybody else. We're right at 7:29, so I can actually stick stuff in the boxer if you want, Severin.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have done a great job. I think I'm hearing some important things, and the focus on business is quite interesting to me. I mean, I think there's always a portion that's focused on business, but it sounds like it was heavily weighted towards business, right?
Nobody overtly talked about the product as far as where it's grown and things like that. I mean, it was all underlying, obviously, just like I think Sean was talking about NSF certification. And the funny thing that he said was, if it does not have anything NSF on the label, you don't want to eat it because you don't know where it's grown. And I'm like, whoa, that was just really shocking to think about that. I mean, I use that a lot to say that it's NSF certified, but I didn't think of it in terms like that.
Yeah.
You can turn off the recording if you want.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. Keep it short. If I know how to turn off the recording.